Hey everybody, Sean Holsinger here from holsingersflyshop.com, bringing another tying video this week, another nymph pattern, and the reason I'm bringing you this one is I put a post on Facebook last week, a Czech Nymph pattern that I used to tie in the box and sell over at the shop, and one or two people asked how I tie it, if I could do a video, so I actually have an old Czech Nymph pattern with which I do it in pink, so it's kind of a little flashy and little over the top for a Czech nymph, but it does definitely catch fish, especially steelhead, that pink, nice pink color. But I wanted to do a natural one, and another reason why I wanted to do it was I was out with a client. We was guiding last week, and was out with a client and was rolling over some rocks, just checking out the bugs, and the one rock was just covered with scud. And I thought, why not do a scud pattern, a Czech nymph, to imitate the scud pattern here in my area especially. And so that's why I'm tying this one. I want to point out one thing here in this. I'm going to show you 3 different variations of this. I tie it all with the same body material, but I changed the ribbing on it here. You're seeing the pictures right now, and it just looks cool with the different ribbing material. So take your pick which one you like there. Natural look with the monofilament, silver rib like I'm going to tie in the video, or if you want to add a little bit of crystal flash or flashaboo, either one of those to wrap around there. It just something to catch the trout's eyes. So really cool pattern, very fish catching pattern, especially here in my area because my area has a ton of scud. Main key, keep it thin. That is the one thing I cannot stress enough. Keep it thin. Don't worry about all those legs out on the bottom. Worry more about keeping this thing thin. If you want to brush out the legs like I do at the end here, brush them out a little bit, but don't worry so much as having a nice thin pattern. So here you're going to see the fly and then the material list to tie it. Alright, here you see this simple Czech nymph pattern intended to imitate a scud from my area, and yours too probably. Let's get into tying it. For a hook, I'm using a Firehole 315. I tie these anywhere from a size 18 up to a size like 10. For lead on this size 14, which I'm tying here, I'm using .015. And I'm going to put about 10 or 12 wraps of lead on there. And I want to have about equal distance from the eye. You can see how I'm about an eye and a half back, and I want about that much back around the bend of the hook there. So once I get that wrapped on there, then I'm going to put, this is 70 Denier dark olive thread. I'm just going to wrap a little bit in front and then a little bit behind to lock that lead in place, and then I'm going to go over top of it. And just cover that so it locks it in place there. Now, one thing that I haven't really pointed out in a long time, when you wrap material on, you always want to start with the last thing you're going to wrap forward needs to be the first thing you wrap down. So for this, I'm going to put some small silver ultra wire on here. I'm going to put it on first because it's going to be my ribbing and it's going to be the last thing that I wrap down before I tie it off. So we're just going to tie that on there. The next thing I'm going to put on is some scud back. I'm using 1/8 inch gray scud back, and it works great for this natural colored scud pattern. You can use different things here. You can use, I would say with scud back, but you can also use some flash and different things to make it look different, however you want to tie it. So we're just going to tie that scud back on there, leave that hang out over the back. Now for this natural color, I'm using natural fox squirrel. This is UV tracer squirrel dub from Nature Spirit. And you can see it's very spiky. I want to go very thin here. So I'm going to wrap this on and I'm going to make a very tight noodle on my thread. Wet my fingers a little bit. I want to keep it thin. I want a couple of those fibers to stick out to make it look leggy, but I don't want a whole lot. So I want to keep it thin. I'm going to make nice side-by-side wraps. I already built up with lead, so I don't want to build up much with dubbing here. You can see there I did a nice job on that wrap. Now I'm just going to finish this the rest of the way. So I need to add a little bit more. Oops. And, ooh, got my thread a little bit long there. I keep smacking the camera. Sorry about that. Cover all my gaps in there and wrap that right up to the eye. You see how I made a nice smooth body. It didn't get real thick. I kept it thin. That's the goal here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over with my scud back and I'm going to pull it right over the top and I'm going to pull it tight. And I'm just going to make like, oops, 2 or 3 wraps to hold that in place before I let go of the scud back to position it where I want. Now, once I get that wrapped on there tight, I'm going to pull that scud back. I'm going to wrap over it the opposite direction. And then I like to take and make a real quick small whip finish right here. Just so my thread doesn't unwrap when I twist my dubbing on, or sorry, my ribbing on, and after I cut the scud back off. So now, I got this on top. I got it centered on top. If it twists around a little bit, just push it where you need it to go. Now we're going to take our wire. I'm going to rib this forward. And what I like to do is kind of come up loose and then pull down tight over the back. I want to dig into that back a little bit and make a ribbed effect. Like I said in the beginning of the video when I showed you a couple different variations of this, I use either wire here or I'll use fishing line like monofilament. Or I'll use flash. Flash-a-boo or crystal flash works great too. I really like the look of that, especially on a bland, dull color, natural color like this is. I just like to catch the fish's eye a little bit. It don't have to be bright and flashy, but just catch the eye a little bit. So just finish this off with a nice little whip finish. Nice clean head there, not too big. And if you want, I'm going to throw a little bit of UV glue. This is bone dry. You can use your favorite head cement, but the UV glue works real quick. And then if you want, you can take and just hit this lightly with a brush. Get a couple of those legs sticking down out the bottom there. Makes it look leggy and very natural looking. And that is all that's to tying this Czech Nymph Scud style pattern. Alright guys, simple tie, fish catching tie. I hope you liked it. It's one that I need to fish more because there are a ton of scud in my area. I don't fish it that much. I'm usually a beadhead guy and I struggle to get away from the beadhead, but definitely this would work great on my dropper. Or even I could put a heavy nymph on my dropper and have this up above it. So using kind of like a drop shot with a heavy beadhead on my dropper. Either one, I've done well with that in the past. So I think that's, for me, that's kind of what it is. It's a mental issue that I wouldn't think it drops as quick because there's no tungsten on it. But the lead is actually heavier than, I did a little research. There is some tungsten thread out there. And the lead is actually heavier than the tungsten thread. So mess around, have fun, experiment. This does catch fish. It's just something I don't fish as much. But I know a lot of guys that do fish it. And like I said, in my area, there are a ton of scud. And this will work great for imitating them. If you want, you can add a little bit of pink or orange for an egg sac, like right in the middle of the fly. That works great too. Something to catch fish's attention. So anyway, guys, if you need any of the material, if you want to buy any of these flies, hit us up. Look us up on the website at holsingersflyshop.com. And like I said, if you want to do any special orders, have a special request for me to tie, you can find me at holsingersflyshop@gmail.com. That's my personal email address. It'll go right to me. So if you have any questions about anything fly tying related, hit me up there. So thanks for watching, guys. Until I bring you another video next week, I'm Sean Holsinger.